Barron Trump's life has been pretty different from most people's, mainly because he's grown up under a massive spotlight as the youngest child of President Donald Trump. He's got strength, brains, and toughness, but also a bit of a tough side to him. From his early days in New York's Trump Tower to his time in the White House, Barron's childhood was shaped by wealth, power, and constant media attention. But how did Barron end up stealing the show at his father's inauguration? Before we dive into that, let's take a look at Barron's story. Barron Trump is the youngest of Donald Trump's children. Inaugurations are formal events that kick off major events like a new presidency and usually include speeches, swearing in, and celebrations, all marking a fresh start in leadership. For a U.S. presidential inauguration, it's a major event that formally introduces a newly elected or re-elected president. On January 20th, 2025, Donald Trump began his second term with an inauguration that had a few differences from the usual ones. Barron Trump grabbed quite a bit of attention during his dad's second swearing in, but to understand why, it's important to know a bit more about Barron's life and his place in one of the most high-profile families in America today. Barron William Trump was born on March 20, 2006, in New York City. He's the only child of Donald and Melania Trump, who'd gotten married the year before he was born. Barron grew up in Trump Tower, the family's famous skyscraper in Manhattan. His early years were full of luxury, with Melania taking a hands-on approach to motherhood while Donald focused on his business and political career. Melania, originally from Slovenia, was all about teaching Barron values and discipline, even though their life was far from ordinary. She often said she took a traditional approach to raising him, focusing on spending quality time and keeping him grounded despite their lifestyle. Barron spoke both English and Slovenian fluently from a young age, reflecting his multicultural background. At the time when Donald ran for president in 2015, Barron was only 9 years old, and the family's life was completely turning upside down. The transition into politics brought up a great deal of interest from the media. Nevertheless, Melania exerted a great deal of effort to shelter Barron from the spotlight, making certain that his education and well-being were of the first importance. Moving to the White House in 2017 was yet another significant change that took place. At the age of 10, Barron made history by being the first boy to reside in the White House since John F. Kennedy Jr. returned to the White House in the early 1960s. For the purpose of allowing Barron to complete the school year in New York, Melania even waited a few months before moving to Washington, District of Columbia. In the event that they did decide to relocate, Barron began attending St. Andrew's Episcopal School in Potomac, Maryland. This school provided him with the opportunity to continue his education in a more intimate and laid-back environment. Barron, the youngest of Donald's 5 children, has had a very different experience compared to his other siblings. This is because Barron is the youngest brother. At the time that their father entered politics, Donald Jr., Ivanka, Eric, and Tiffany were all adults before their father entered politics. In contrast to his siblings, who participated in Donald's political campaigns and business endeavors, Barron made a decision to pursue a different course of action. His efforts to further his studies and his own personal growth continued to be his primary emphasis. In the course of his career, Barron earned a reputation for his reserved and quiet demeanor when he was present at public occasions. He stood out for his calm and controlled appearance, which was a contrast to the typically boisterous and attention-grabbing character of political life. This was true whether he was attending political functions or family gatherings. By the time he was in his early teens, he had already surpassed his parents in stature, and by the time he was 17, he had grown to be over 6'7" tall, which became a talking topic during the inauguration in 2025. His height was one of the things that caught the attention of the public. On the other hand, that is only one facet of his narrative. Barron's life has been significantly impacted by sports, notably soccer, throughout his entire childhood. While he was residing in the White House, he became a member of the youth teams of DC United, and he was frequently seen attending soccer matches. This passion for sports seemed to be a means for him to maintain some sense of normalcy, despite the fact that he was pushed into an exceptional and frequently overwhelming public life. Melania, his mother, has always emphasized how important it is to give Barron the opportunity to pursue his own hobbies and create his personality, even if he is growing up in the Trump family, which is an unusual situation. Because she has always placed a high priority on his schooling and activities, She has been able to assist him maintain some consistency and routine in his life. In spite of the fact that he is a reserved individual and makes fewer appearances in public, Barron has generated a great deal of interest. Barron, in contrast to his older siblings who frequently engaged with the media and were frequently at the center of political discourse, remained mainly out of the spotlight for the most part. The public's curiosity was only piqued further as a result of this, as he became somewhat of a mystery. Observers regularly remarked on his maturity and poise during public engagements, acknowledging the particular circumstances he faced as the youngest child of a serving president. He was the youngest child of the president. Barron continued to maintain a low profile subsequent to the conclusion of Donald's first term in office. Melania maintained her concentration on his schooling and his own personal development. She made certain that he got the best chances available to him while simultaneously managing the hurdles that came with growing up in such a prominent household. Throughout his life, Barron has been subjected to remarkable conditions, beginning with his early youth spent in Trump Tower and continuing through his time spent living in the White House and beyond. The continual media attention that comes with being a member of the Trump family has never distracted Barron from his schoolwork, his interests, or his family life. He has always maintained his concentration on these things. But what was it about Barron that made him the center of attention for the inauguration in 2025? Despite the fact that Barron has made every effort to minimize his exposure to the public eye, he was unable to avoid the spotlight when his father was reelected in the year 2024. Barron became a figure of public intrigue from the time Donald Trump won the presidency in 2016 to the time he was inaugurated for the second time in 2025. Both the media and the general public continued to speculate about him, despite the fact that he was a reserved individual and made few public appearances. Due in large part to the conscious efforts of Melania and Donald Trump to shield Barron from the severe pressures that come with having a child in the political spotlight, Barron was able to remain mostly out of the spotlight despite the continual media attention that was focused on the Trump family. On the other hand, Barron's life underwent a significant transformation once Donald Trump was elected president in 2016. By virtue of the fact that he was the youngest child of a sitting president, he was no longer able to remain completely sheltered from the attention of the media, and the general public started to take a larger interest in him. Barron's life path, which has been characterized by his need for privacy, his personal development, and the influence of his family, provides signs that he may continue to evolve in ways that are both unique and unexpected. Despite the fact that his destiny is still a secret, it continues to be a topic of interest, particularly after his spectacular presence at the inauguration in 2025. As a result of Barron's reserved demeanor and minimal public appearances, there was an increased level of curiosity over his personality and day-to-day activities. Melania, who is well aware of the difficulties that come with being under such constant attention, has frequently requested that the media respect the privacy of her son. "I always respect Barron's yes and no, and what he likes to do, where he would like to be. I think he will come and visit," she stated in response. In addition, Melania's Be Best project, which aimed to combat cyberbullying and improve the well-being of children, brought to light her concerns on the pressures that contemporary society places on youngsters like Barron. The theory that she applied to Barron was that children should be shielded from unwarranted criticism and unfavorable attention. She frequently discussed the importance of child protection. Even though his family was famous, Barron was able to dodge the focus of the media because to a number of variables. In the first place, Melania's unwavering dedication to protecting him from the scrutiny of the public significantly contributed to the outcome. His appearances were meticulously managed by her, and she made certain that he was only seen when it was absolutely necessary. Barron's education continued to be a top concern for the entirety of Donald's first term as president. By ensuring that he attended private schools that adhered to rigorous academic standards and provided a safe atmosphere, Melania made it possible for him to concentrate on his studies without being interrupted. When Barron did attend events with his parents, he was often calm and supportive, and he avoided the spotlight throughout the majority of those occasions. Barron's public outings were infrequent and always with a purpose. There was a broad respect for Barron's privacy, especially considering his age over the most of Donald's presidency. despite the fact that the media frequently speculated about their relationship with him. Although Barron managed to keep his interests and pastimes hidden from the public eye, they were occasionally brought up in conversation. However, by the year 2025, his plans for the future were still a secret. After graduating from high school, he was probably thinking about what he wanted to do next, whether it was to continue his schooling, participate in sports, or do something else. In spite of the fact that his objectives may vary, Melania and Donald have consistently shown their support for him. With his life, Barron provides a unique perspective on what it is like to be a youngster growing up in the political world. While his father and older brothers took on prominent public roles, Barron remained relatively low-key. This was primarily due to Melania's attempts to protect his privacy, which allowed him to conceal his identity. Barron's journey has been one of quiet fortitude and flexibility, beginning with his early days living in Trump Tower and continuing through his time spent at the White House and beyond. The fact that he has been able to maintain his concentration on his own development, despite the difficulties he has encountered as the youngest member of a famous family, is evidence of the strong support and direction that he has received from his parents. Not because of his customary calm demeanor, but rather because of his height, which caused quite a commotion. Barron eventually gained the attention of the public when he was 18 years old, during his father's second inauguration. Not only because of their riches and prestige, but also because of their ability to maintain a close-knit family unit in spite of the constraints that come with public life. The Trump family has always been a source of fascination for the general public. Barron, the youngest of the three, has been raised amid extraordinary circumstances. While his parents and siblings have frequently been the center of attention, Barron has quietly carved out his own place, supported by the strength of his family. The siblings of Barron have succeeded in both the economic world and the political arena. Throughout their careers, Donald Jr. and Eric have been actively involved in the family's real estate industry, contributing to projects all around the world. Ivanka, the eldest daughter, demonstrated her influence as an entrepreneur and as a key advisor during her father's first term as President of the United States. Tiffany, the second youngest of the three, has worked toward a profession in law. Although every member of the Trump family fulfills a distinct function within the family, Barron stands out due to his placid temperament and youthful presence. He brings a new aspect to the Trump family relationship. Barron's upbringing under Melania's direction has been all about insulating him from unnecessary media attention. This is despite the fact that the family has a high-profile standing. Unlike his other siblings, who were highly involved in Donald's campaigns and commercial interests, Barron has maintained a considerably lower profile, with his public appearances primarily consisting of key family occasions. This is in contrast to his older siblings. The tall stature he possessed and the calm, collected manner in which he carried himself always made him stand out whenever he became visible. Their shared experiences, as well as their individual responsibilities within the Trump legacy, have played a significant part in shaping the relationships that Barron has with his family. Donald has always spoken affectionately about his youngest son, even though he has a very busy schedule. He frequently refers to him as a very tall son, which underlines not just his height, but also his one-of-a-kind personality and potential. The connection that Melania has with Barron has been very deep. As a mother who is very involved in her child's life, she has made his health and development her first priority. She pays close attention to his academic performance and extracurricular activities to make sure that he receives all of the assistance that he requires. During the time that Barron's older siblings, such as Ivanka and Eric, were already establishing their own jobs and handling the duties that came with being a family member, Barron was growing up under their watchful eyes, and each of them played a role in his growth. In the year 2024, Barron made his initial foray into the realm of business by establishing a real estate development company. Despite the fact that the initiative was just a temporary endeavor, primarily because of the demands of his father's presidential campaign, it served as an indication of his ability to follow in the footsteps of his family. It has been suggested by those who are close to Barron that he intends to relaunch the business in the near future, which would indicate his intention to carve out his own niche within the Trump legacy. Despite the fact that the majority of Barron's life has been concealed from the public, aspects of his personality and the things that he is interested in have been revealed here and there. In addition to his passion for soccer, Barron has frequently demonstrated an interest in gaming and technology. In addition to having a remarkable knack for comprehending the most recent devices and trends, he enjoys playing video games just like many other teenagers do. One of the most important aspects of the Trump family's narrative is their capacity to maintain their unity in the face of both public and private problems. At the core of this story is Barron Trump, who appears to be walking more boldly into his territory. Barron Trump has spent a significant portion of his childhood in the public eye. Yet it was not until the inauguration of his father in 2025 that he truly stepped into the spotlight. Barron, who is now 18 years old, has developed into a tall and composed young man, and his appearance at the Capitol Rotunda produced an image that will remain with everyone for a long time. One of the reasons why his inaugural moment is making such a stir is because of his fashionable hairstyle and polished appearance while he was attending the event. While Barron was just 18 years old at the time, it was his first true moment in the spotlight, and it signaled the beginning of a new chapter in his public life. On account of his maturation into a tall and self-assured young man, Barron stood out among the dignitaries and family members who were present at the Capitol District. The transition that he has undergone since his father's first inauguration in 2017 was remarkable, and it was a moment that firmly put him in the public eye. At 6'9", Barron towered over his family, making him an unmistakable presence at any gathering. During the inauguration, he was seen standing tall with his family at St. John's Episcopal Church for the pre-inauguration prayer service. As Donald, now the 47th president, addressed the crowd, Barron's new slicked-back hairstyle became a topic of conversation, drawing comparisons to his older brothers Donald Jr. and Eric, who had both sported similar looks in recent years. This fresh style was a subtle sign of Barron's growing public persona, marking a shift as he began to step into his own identity. Unlike his siblings, who are regularly in the spotlight, Barron hadn't been the center of attention until now. Growing up in the political world, Barron's role was typically quieter, standing with his family but rarely speaking to the media. However, during this event, Donald made sure to introduce each family member, saving a special mention for Barron. "I have a very tall son named Barron. Has anyone ever heard of him?" Donald joked, drawing cheers from the audience. As Barron stood up and waved, the crowd's excitement grew even more. He responded by cupping his hand to his ear, encouraging an even bigger reaction. His confidence and connection with the audience show. However, Barron's enthusiastic participation did not end there. He also recreated one of Donald's characteristic actions, which consisted of raising his fist in unison with the cheering crowd. This move prompted the crowd to chant, "Barron! It's the Barron! It's the Barron!" A moment that appeared to mark the beginning of his growing popularity as the youngest Trump. Although Barron has frequently been the subject of speculation about his future, this event only fueled ideas that he might one day follow in his father's footsteps. Observers noticed his effortless stage presence and the ease with which he handled the attention, which are characteristics that are typically seen in successful public figures. Despite being so young, Barron's public appearances have been rare but impactful, leaving people with the impression of a thoughtful, composed individual. His appearance at this inauguration marked a striking contrast to his first public debut at Donald's inauguration in 2017. Back then, he was just 10 years old, wearing a navy overcoat and a matching tie, his hair styled casually. The quiet boy who once seemed reserved on the public stage had now grown into a confident, self-assured young man. His slicked-back hair and sophisticated attire at the 2025 ceremony emphasized his maturity. Transitioning from childhood to adulthood in the public eye is no easy feat, but Barron seemed to handle it all with grace. Observers praised his poise as he stood alongside his siblings and other family members. Barron's confidence and polished appearance sparked even more speculation about his future in the public eye. The 2025 inauguration was a key moment for him. Dressed sharply in a tailored suit, he stood confidently with his family during the ceremony. His composure and sophisticated look showed his evolution from a reserved teenager to a young adult ready to take on more attention. Many observers pointed out how much he resembled both Donald and Melania, noting that his quiet confidence mirrored his mother's elegance. His new hairstyle, slicked back and neatly styled, added to the mature vibe he projected during the event. While Barron's immediate plans remain private, his potential to contribute to the Trump family legacy is clear. Whether through business ventures or other paths, he appears ready to make his own mark as he continues to grow. Barron represents the next generation of the Trump family, balancing public expectations with his personal aspirations. For now, he remains a young man finding his way, supported by a family that has long been in the spotlight. With his towering presence and composed demeanor, it's clear Barron will continue to draw attention wherever he goes. Ultimately, Barron Trump's appearance at the 2025 inauguration was a defining moment for him. It showcased his growth and potential in a way that captured the public's attention. From his commanding presence and polished look to his confident interactions with the crowd, he demonstrated qualities that have sparked much speculation about his future. How surprised were you by Barron's transformation?